Welcome back to Preservation Travels with Lane and Kevin. Today, we have a Gothic Revival beauty for you. Stay tuned. Well, here we are back in our home away from home, Natchez, Mississippi, and I'm back on Union Street. Today, we're bringing you the beautiful Peter Hunter House, one of the only examples of Gothic Revival architecture here in Natchez, Mississippi. For those of you who've been with us a while, you'll remember that Gothic Revival is the style of home that our Louise was before we lost her to a lightning strike. So, being here at this gorgeous Gothic Revival brings back some bittersweet memories for sure. This example of Gothic Revival architecture has some absolutely glorious details. You're going to see gorgeous barge board up on her center gable. We've got beautiful corbelling detail, but the interior has a lot of Greek Revival features. One of the reasons it has Greek Revival features is because this home was started in the 1840s and then sort of continuously added on to until the 1860s. So we have a real transitional home all the way through. We'll walk you through that architecture. We're back on Union Street. We have two other properties we've shown you here on Union Street. Up the street, you'll remember we had that glorious fixer-upper for $79,900 that after our video came out, sold in 2 days. Our friend John purchased that house and he's hard at work on it. We're going to take you back there soon. And then next door is the Shields townhouse, which somehow or another is still for sale. I don't understand how. Absolutely glorious property. So if you haven't watched that video, make sure you take a peek back at that one as well. But we're going to take you inside this glorious example of Gothic Revival architecture with Greek Revival detailing throughout in the Peter Hunter house. So come on inside. Well, here we are in the formal entryway of the Peter Hunter house where guests would have been greeted upon arriving to meet the owners of this beautiful home. You'll notice all around me, we have very indicative Greek Revival features over each of the doorways. We have these beautiful pedimented architraves and entablatures. Absolutely stunning. Around me, we have a secondary entrance that mirrors the front entrance. Our front entrance is double door with side lights and transom. We have that repeated here into the private part of the house. So when guests were greeted into the home, these doors would have been closed. And as you can see, these do not have glass. So when these were closed, that completely shut off the private family portions of the home. And the glass in this transom and side light arrangement is original snowflake glass. We see this in many of the homes here in Natchez. Most recently, we saw it in Ruthland when we were able to visit there, which for some reason, mysteriously, is still available for sale. So if you haven't watched the Ruthland video, check that one out because that is a masterpiece of architecture, whose side light and transom glass is the same as the glass we see here in the Peter Hunter house. Let's take a look at the formal living space through here. Well, here we are in the formal parlor of the Peter Hunter house. Now, as I mentioned on the front porch, this home was started in 1840 and construction and additions continued all the way up until 1860. But this part of the home, we see that clean, pristine 1840s architecture. We have beautiful, just symmetrical lines throughout the space, very delineated trim work. There's not a lot of frou-frou over the top trim that we see in this room. And I know that you're looking at the crown above me going, excuse me, what? Let me tell you why. That's not original. Not only is it not original, it's not to any period that we would want. I guarantee you that's made out of foam. And if the Peter Hunter house were mine, these inappropriate foam composite trim pieces would come down immediately and we'd be returning it back to its clean, simplistic 1840s style. Same thing with the medallion in the ceiling. Not original, not period, probably put up sometime in the 1990s. So I would be taking those down and returning this room to its simple early form because that is extraordinarily beautiful. It is a stunning form. We have 3 original 6/6 wavy glass windows. Just the glass in these windows is beautiful enough an element for this room. You don't need all this additional falderall that's been added. We have behind us a gorgeous early mantelpiece. Look how tall it is. Again, I'm 5'7". I'm 5'7" and it fits right underneath, right on top of my shoulder. This is a huge monumental fireplace that's indicative of the early period of this home. And again, the ceilings are soaring, the room is enormous. I love the living spaces that we get in these early properties. Let's go through and take a look at the formal dining room, which is another glorious space. Well, here we are in the formal dining room, and you know that formal dining rooms are always one of my favorite rooms in any of these historic homes. Again, this room, we have gorgeous, clean, Greek Revival early architecture reflected here in this incredibly clean mantelpiece. We have these glorious 2-panel doors, and again, 3 huge 6/6 windows full of wavy glass letting in tons of natural light. Now again, we have lots of polyfoam trim. I'd take it down, you might decide to leave it. On the floors, we have cypress flooring. So we know these floors are early. Here in Natchez, Mississippi, there is an absolute clean delineation in construction. Cypress was used in construction up until the 1840-1850 period. After that, we get a cutoff and we go to heart pine. So the fact that these floors are cypress tells us that the main part of this house, this part, was built in the early build phase here in Natchez. I do want to point out here on the mantelpiece is an early photograph of the Peter Hunter house. Now, if you see the larger version of this photograph, a pulled out version of this photograph, you'll see that the only 2 properties on Union Street at the time were the Shields townhouse next door and the Peter Hunter house. So 2 of the earliest structures on this block. Let's go back here into the kitchen and see what we find. Well, here we are in the kitchen breakfast room area. I do want to mention that the most recent use of the Peter Hunter house was as a very successful bed and breakfast. If you Google Peter Hunter house bed and breakfast, you're going to see limitless articles about the successful, beautiful bed and breakfast that was run out of this property. So it's already a well-known property. It's already a well-known business. If you're hankering to be in the bed and breakfast business, you couldn't find a better property to do so than here in Natchez, Mississippi in the Peter Hunter house. We're in the kitchen. You see we have another glorious early mantelpiece. It's had a faux marble technique put over it. This is not the original technique. You can just clearly tell by looking at the execution. But was it originally painted with a faux marble? Very likely so. But again, it's a very, very early design. You can see this is a point at which we're transitioning out of the Federal period into the Greek Revival period. So just a clear indication of the original build date of this property. Now, the current kitchen is not a great setup. That is one thing you're going to be looking at redoing if you were to take on stewardship of the Peter Hunter house. This is not a functional kitchen. People struggle so often with historic properties with kitchen design because we have it in our heads that everything has to exist up against a wall. Everything's got to be up against a wall. If I were to take on this property, I would probably pull all of that out and create a huge island space that holds almost all of our functioning kitchen. We can have under-counter refrigerators now, we can have stoves, sinks, dishwashers, everything located into a huge working island. And then if you want some cabinet storage, you can put that where everything has been sort of placed hodgepodge over here in this area right now. Or switch these two out, make this your kitchen space and make that your breakfast nook. But a huge space, it's just gonna need a little bit of vision and ingenuity to make it into a practical working space. Off of this kitchen, we have a huge utility room, another thing that we rarely get in homes of this period. So we have a huge utility room there, and then off of this space, we have a master suite. Let's go take a look. Well, here's a treat we don't often get in homes of this period, a first floor main suite. Behind me, you'll see this absolutely gorgeous Greek Revival mantelpiece, original mantelpiece. You probably can't tell because it is painted black, but it does have our typical Greek Revival corner detail on it. It's a huge room with a closet. It's original 6/6 wavy glass windows, and better still, a huge ensuite bath. Let's take a look. Well, here's something we never get, ever, in homes of this period. And I mean never, ever, ever. This is the first one I've seen in an 1840 period home. We have an elevator, a working elevator. So, if you wanted to take on this property as an inn, a boutique inn, or a bed and breakfast, you are set up to have handicap accessible rooms on your second floor because you have access with this elevator. One of the things that I absolutely love about this home is the absolute huge proportions that it has. We see this so often in homes of this period, but we're up on the second floor where we have 3 bedroom en-suites and a common room. Every one of these bedrooms is absolutely enormous. So in each of the rooms, you have an original fireplace. One of them has a Victorian update to it, and you have an ensuite bathroom. So should you choose not to use this as a bed and breakfast, but you have a large family, every one of your children is going to have their own bathroom, which is going to save a lot of arguments in the morning. Let's take a look at these bedrooms and see what you think. Well, I wanted to specifically talk about this fireplace. This is where we see some real evolution in this property. Everything else in the property remains very cleanly 1840s. We can see little hints here and there of the change in the property over time. And then we get to this fireplace where we have high Victorian, true 1880s inlaid tile on the floor, a very Victorian mantelpiece, and then this beveled mirror over the top. This is not original. This was a trendy update that we got sometime in the later Victorian period, stuck into this Greek Revival interior. So a fun element that's a new element that's still 120 or 30 years old. Well, welcome to the South, where in November we've gone from tornado sirens to blue skies in the time that we've been here at the Peter Hunter House. Thank you for joining us today. Remember, if you think you might be the new steward of this property, we are not the real estate agents. We have nothing to do with the sale, and we do not represent this property in any way. If you'd like some more information about this beautiful home on Union Street, the Peter Hunter House, the listing information is in the description below. You'll find the realtor's information there, and she can give you all of the remaining details that you might need to know to become the next steward of this beautiful home. We invite you to watch our series, Restoring Your Victorian. There are 35 episodes that show us getting our hands dirty and working on 2 restoration, preservation, and rehabilitation projects of our very own, one right here in Natchez, Mississippi. Thank you for joining us today. So from the second story balcony of the Peter Hunter House, we say thank you and goodbye.